Life is meant to be lived, not endlessly analyzed. Yet so many of us spend our days trapped inside our heads, replaying the past, worrying about the future, and dotting the present moment. Overthinking steals our peace, weakens our confidence, and holds us back from opportunities that could change our lives. It disguises itself as preparation, as caution, as careful thought, but in truth, it is fear wearing the mask of logic. When you live in your thoughts, more than in your actions, you create a cage for yourself. Every decision becomes heavier, every mistake feels larger, and every step forward is delayed by hesitation. Imagine how much lighter, freer, and more purposeful life would feel if you released yourself from this cycle. This audiobook is your guide to breaking free. It is about learning to calm the noise in your mind and to trust yourself enough to live with clarity and courage. You will discover practical ways to quiet the chatter, to redirect your focus, and to build a life of action, not paralysis. You'll learn how to recognize the patterns that fuel overthinking and replace them with empowering habits. You'll see that confidence doesn't come from endless planning, but from taking the first step. You'll understand that peace is not found in controlling every outcome, but in letting go of what you cannot change and embracing what you can. By the end of this journey, you will realize that your thoughts should serve you, not imprison you. You will see that living fully requires presence, not perfection. And you will understand that the key to happiness is not in analyzing every possibility, but in embracing the moment that is right in front of you. So, take a deep breath. Let go of the mental weight you've been carrying, and prepare yourself for a powerful transformation. Together, we will turn down the volume of overthinking and turn up the rhythm of life. Overthinking often feels like a protective shield, as though if you just think deeply enough, replay every scenario, and analyze each angle, you will finally arrive at certainty. It convinces you that caution equals safety, that worry equals preparation, and that hesitation equals wisdom. But the truth is, overthinking is rarely protection. It is a trap, one that drains your energy, clouds your vision, and paralyzes your ability to act. Imagine standing at the edge of a pool, wanting to dive in. Your mind starts racing. What if the water is too cold? What if you don't dive correctly? What if others are watching and judging? The longer you stand there, the more your hesitation grows, and eventually, you don't dive at all. Overthinking works exactly like this. It keeps you on the sidelines of your own life, convincing you that waiting is safer, when in reality, waiting is the very thing that robs you of experience and growth. The trap of overthinking is subtle, because it disguises itself as responsibility. You tell yourself that you are being careful, that you are making sure, that you are just weighing your options. But beneath that carefulness is often fear Fear of making a mistake, fear of being judged, fear of the unknown. And the more you indulge in it, the more you feed the cycle. One worry sparks another. One scenario leads to 10 more, and your mind becomes a tangled knot of what-ifs. Think about how much time has been lost to this pattern. Hours spent replaying conversations, wondering if you said the right thing. Days spent analyzing a decision you still haven't made. Weeks, months, sometimes even years stuck in hesitation, all because you are waiting for the perfect certainty that never comes. Overthinking doesn't create clarity. It creates confusion. It doesn't reduce mistakes. It multiplies them by keeping you frozen in place. The most damaging part of overthinking is that it robs you of presence. While your body is in the present moment, your mind is somewhere else entirely. In the past you cannot change, or in the future you cannot control. You miss the beauty of now because you are busy analyzing yesterday or fearing tomorrow, and so life begins to pass by. Not because you aren't capable of living it, but because you are too busy rehearsing it inside your head. The good news is that awareness is the first step to freedom. The moment you can see overthinking for what it is, a mental loop that keeps you from living, you begin to loosen its hold. Awareness shines a light on the cycle. It allows you to pause, to catch yourself mid-thought, and to say, "This is not helping me. This is not moving me forward." Once you see the trap, you cannot unsee it, and that clarity gives you the power to step away. Overthinking thrives in silence, in inactivity, in the spaces where you allow it to run unchecked. But the moment you shift your focus to action, it begins to lose its strength. Action is the antidote to overthinking. A single step forward, no matter how small, cuts through the endless cycle of analysis. It reminds you that progress doesn't require perfect certainty, only the courage to begin. As you move deeper into this journey, remind yourself that the trap of overthinking is not stronger than your will to live fully. You are not meant to be a prisoner of your thoughts. You are meant to use them as tools, not chains. The first step to freedom is to see the cage for what it is, and once you see it, the door is already open. All that remains is for you to walk through it. We often believe that overthinking is harmless, even helpful. We tell ourselves that we are just being careful, that we are weighing every option to avoid mistakes. But in reality, overthinking is a thief disguised as wisdom. It robs us of time, energy, and opportunities. It convinces us that by turning a problem over in our minds 100 times, we will somehow stumble upon the perfect answer. Yet the truth is, the more we think, the less we act, and the less we act, the smaller our world becomes. Think about how many moments you've delayed because of hesitation. Perhaps it was sending a message to someone you care about, applying for a job you secretly wanted, or stepping onto a path that scared you. Instead of moving, You sat still, replaying possible scenarios in your head. Each scenario led to another, and soon your mind was spinning like a wheel stuck in mud. Hours passed, sometimes days passed, and in the end, the opportunity slipped away. Not because you weren't capable, but because your thoughts convinced you to wait for the perfect certainty that never arrived. Life doesn't reward endless planning. Life rewards movement. The person who takes imperfect action will always outpace the one who waits for flawless conditions. Imagine two people standing at the edge of a field. One spends hours studying the ground, the direction of the wind, and every possible outcome of planting a seed. The other kneels down, places the seed in the soil, and waters it. Months later, one has a thriving plant, and the other has nothing but a head full of questions. That is the cost of overthinking. The mind will always find reasons to delay. It will whisper that you are not ready, that you don't know enough, that the risk is too great. But these are illusions born from fear. Fear prefers the comfort of endless analysis, because as long as you are thinking, you are not acting, and as long as you are not acting, you are safe from failure. Yet what fear doesn't tell you is that in protecting you from failure, it also protects you from growth, success, and fulfillment. Overthinking also creates exhaustion. Notice how drained you feel after hours of mental spinning. That tiredness is not from doing real work. It is from carrying the weight of imagined outcomes. The body is still, but the mind is racing, and the result is fatigue without progress. When you act, even if imperfectly, you release that energy into the world. You gain momentum. You create clarity through experience, rather than speculation. The path to freedom begins with a simple truth. Clarity is not the result of thinking more, but of doing more. You will not figure out everything by sitting in silence. You will figure it out by stepping forward and allowing life to respond. Each action is like lighting a lamp on a dark road. You may not see the whole path, but you will always see enough to take the next step. So the next time you find yourself lost in the cycle of analysis, pause and ask yourself one question. What small action can I take right now? Not tomorrow, not when conditions are perfect, but right now. The moment you act, you begin to silence the noise. The moment you step forward, you remind your mind who is in charge. Remember, this life is not meant to be solved like a puzzle. It is meant to be lived like a journey. Overthinking keeps you at the starting line, staring at the map. Living begins when you take the first step, even if you don't have all the answers. When you find yourself caught in the cycle of overthinking, it often feels like you are drowning in possibilities. Every choice feels heavy, as though the wrong decision could alter your life forever. But in reality, most decisions are far less monumental than our minds make them out to be. The habit of magnifying choices, turning them into life or death scenarios creates a sense of paralysis. You hesitate, you stall, you wait for the perfect moment that never comes. And in that waiting, you lose valuable time and opportunities. The truth is, clarity does not come from endless analysis. It comes from movement. Think of it like walking into a dark room. You can stand outside the doorway and plan how you will move around every piece of furniture. But until you step inside and flip the switch, you are only imagining the layout. The light comes on when you move. Similarly, the answers you seek rarely arrive while you are frozen in thought. They reveal themselves when you begin. Consider those times when you finally took action after weeks of hesitation. Perhaps it was making a phone call, sending an email, or saying yes to an opportunity. How quickly did the anxiety dissolve once you acted? The mind builds mountains, but reality often shows us only small hills. What you feared so much tends to shrink the moment you confront it. This is because action replaces uncertainty with experience. Once you try, you no longer wonder. You know, this shift is powerful. Every step forward, no matter how small, teaches you more than weeks of overthinking ever will. Progress is born not from perfect plans, but from imperfect attempts. And when you act, you learn two things. Either the path works, or it doesn't. But both outcomes move you closer to clarity. Failure, if it comes, is not the enemy. In truth, it is the greatest teacher. Each attempt, even if flawed, provides feedback that sharpens your direction and builds your resilience. Think of a river. Water never stops to debate which way to flow. It simply moves forward, finding its course by moving over rocks and through obstacles. Over time, it carves valleys, creates paths, and shapes landscapes. Your life is no different. When you stop standing still in the mind and begin flowing in action, you carve out a path uniquely your own. The challenges along the way do not block you. They shape you. This does not mean rushing blindly into every decision. It means learning to trust that forward motion, even if imperfect, is better than endless hesitation. Overthinking pretends to offer safety, but what it actually gives you is stagnation. Safety without growth becomes a prison. The courage to act, however, opens doors. It teaches you that you are capable of adapting, of learning, of handling whatever comes next. Take a moment to think about the areas of your life where overthinking has held you hostage. Is it in relationships, where you replay conversations and imagine every possible reaction before speaking your truth? Is it in your career, where opportunities pass by because you are waiting for more certainty? Or is it in personal goals, where you hesitate to begin because you want to guarantee success before you even start? The cost of overthinking is not just stress. It is lost chances, lost time, and lost growth. But here lies the opportunity. Every moment is a chance to choose differently. You can decide today that you will replace thought loops with simple, intentional actions. You can choose to send that message, start that project, take that step. And as you do, you will notice something powerful. The fog in your mind begins to clear. The more you act, the less you doubt. The less you doubt, the more you grow. And the more you grow, the less overthinking has power over you. Action is the antidote to overthinking. It breaks the cycle, dissolves the fear, and reminds you that life is not meant to be perfectly calculated. It is meant to be lived, one step, one choice, and one courageous moment at a time. We often believe that thinking more will give us more control. That if we rehearse every possibility in our minds, we can avoid pain, embarrassment, or failure. But the truth is, the more we try to control every outcome, the more we lose control of ourselves. Life is unpredictable by design. The unexpected is not a flaw in the system. It is part of the very fabric of existence. When you demand certainty before you act, you end up waiting forever. When you need guarantees before you move forward, you never truly begin. Think about the last time you hesitated because you were unsure. Maybe you wanted to start a project, reach out to someone, or take a risk that could lead to growth. Instead of acting, you stayed in your head, playing out what might go wrong. Hours turned into days, and days turned into weeks. Nothing happened, except the tightening grip of doubt. That is the silent cost of overthinking. It robs you of momentum, and momentum is the very thing that turns small beginnings into great achievements. Life rewards action, not hesitation. Progress doesn't come from knowing every detail in advance, but from taking one step and allowing the next step to reveal itself. Just as a traveler walking at night only needs enough light for the next few feet, you only need enough clarity for today. Waiting for the entire path to be illuminated is an illusion. The journey reveals itself as you move forward. Letting go of overthinking does not mean acting recklessly. It means recognizing that no amount of mental rehearsal will ever prepare you for everything. It means having the courage to trust yourself in the moment, rather than doubting yourself in advance. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in life happen when you step into the unknown, when you risk not having it all figured out. And often, what you fear will go wrong never even comes close to happening. There is a simple but powerful truth. Most of the pain we experience in life comes not from events themselves, but from the way we think about them. The mind magnifies small setbacks into disasters. It stretches uncertainty into fear, and it creates suffering long before anything actually happens. When you let go of this mental habit, you discover a freedom that cannot be measured. You realize that you do not need to control every situation in order to thrive. You only need to be present, resilient, and willing to respond as life unfolds. Imagine standing at the edge of a river, trying to predict the shape of every current before you step in. You could stand there forever, analyzing and waiting. Or you could take one step into the water, feel its flow, and adjust as you go. Life is the same. You cannot master it from the shore. You must enter it imperfectly, courageously, without guarantees. Each time you let go of the need for absolute certainty, you reclaim your energy. You free yourself from the exhausting burden of what ifs and open the door to what is. You begin to live with flow rather than resistance. And slowly, you discover that life does not require you to control everything. It only requires you to participate fully. So release the illusion that overthinking will save you. Trust yourself enough to begin, even if you cannot see the entire path. The world opens itself to those who dare to move, not those who wait for permission. And when you learn to live this way, you will find a profound peace. The peace that comes from knowing you no longer need to have every answer before you take the next step. There is a powerful truth that many people overlook. Clarity does not come from thinking harder, but from acting sooner. Overthinking convinces us that if we just sit with a decision long enough, if we analyze every possible path, we will eventually stumble upon certainty. But the reality is that certainty rarely arrives through thought alone. It is action that illuminates the path, revealing insights and lessons that endless reflection could never provide. Think about the times in your life when you were stuck between two choices. You replayed the options in your mind. You made lists. You weighed the pros and cons until you felt exhausted. Yet no matter how much mental energy you invested, you still felt unsure. And then, the moment you finally took a step, whether it was the right one or not, the fog began to clear. That first step gave you feedback, and feedback gave you direction. Action became the teacher that thinking alone could never be. This is why overthinking is so paralyzing. It promises clarity but delivers confusion. It convinces you that by waiting, by pausing, by analyzing just a little longer, you will eventually feel ready. But readiness is not the fruit of thought. It is the fruit of courage. You only feel ready after you act, after you expose yourself to the reality of the moment, after you discover that you are capable of handling more than you imagined. Imagine a child learning to ride a bicycle. If the child sat on the curb, studying the bike, replaying instructions, visualizing the process, they might learn a few things in theory. But no amount of thinking could replace the experience of actually getting on, wobbling, falling, and trying again. Balance is not mastered in the mind. It is mastered on the road. The same principle applies to your life. Confidence is not built in endless thought. It is built in bold steps forward. Many of us hesitate because we fear making mistakes. We want the perfect plan, the flawless decision, the guarantee of success before we move. But perfection is an illusion, and mistakes are not proof of failure. They are proof of progress. Every misstep holds a lesson. Every setback builds resilience. When you avoid action to protect yourself from mistakes, you are also protecting yourself from growth. The cost of an action is far greater than the cost of imperfection. Consider how much energy is wasted in the cycle of what if? What if I choose wrong? What if I fail? What if people judge me? Each question creates a wall between you and the life you could be living. But when you shift the question from what if to what now, you reclaim your power. What now invites you to take one small step, no matter how uncertain you feel. That small step, however imperfect, shatters the grip of overthinking and sets momentum in motion. Momentum is a powerful antidote to doubt. The moment you act, you create movement, and movement generates clarity, confidence, and courage. You may still face challenges, but instead of sitting in the prison of thought, you are walking on the road of growth. And on that road, every step makes the next one easier. So when you feel the weight of overthinking pressing down on you, remember this: clarity is born from action. The mind will never be free of questions, but the answers you seek will come faster through experience than through endless reflection. Step forward. Try, learn, adjust, and in that rhythm, you will discover that the best way to think less and live more is to act sooner and trust yourself along the way. When the mind is restless, it convinces us that thinking more will somehow give us control. But in truth, peace is not born from control. It comes from trust. At the heart of overthinking is a lack of faith in ourselves, in others, or in the unfolding of life. We replay conversations because we do not trust that we handled them well. We worry about tomorrow because we do not trust our ability to face what comes. We hesitate before choices because we do not trust that even if we make mistakes, we will learn and grow. Without trust, the mind feels like it must work overtime to calculate every risk, rehearse every possibility, and prepare for every outcome. But consider this: how much of your life have you already survived? Think of the challenges you thought you would never overcome. Yet here you are. Life has a way of carrying us forward, even through storms we never believed we could weather. When you step back and reflect, you begin to realize that trust is not naive. Trust is wisdom. It is the understanding that while you cannot predict every detail, you are capable of meeting life as it comes. Overthinking robs us of presence because it insists that we must know the ending before we even begin. But what if you could release that burden and embrace the unknown with confidence? Imagine standing before a door, unsure of what is behind it, but choosing to open it anyway. Not because you know exactly what is on the other side, but because you trust your ability to walk through it with strength. That is where peace is found. Trust does not mean ignoring preparation or abandoning responsibility. It means recognizing the limits of control. You can plan, you can take thoughtful steps. But at some point, you must let go and move forward. Think of a seed planted in the soil. You water it. You give it sunlight. But you cannot force it to sprout on your timetable. There is a natural order to things, and your role is to nurture, not to obsess. In the same way, your dreams, your decisions, your relationships, they require care and action, but also the patience to let life unfold. When you stop demanding certainty, you create space for peace. You give yourself permission to rest, knowing that you are doing enough. You stop replaying conversations because you trust your heart was in the right place. You stop doubting every decision because you trust that no matter what happens, you will adapt. Trust is not about guaranteeing outcomes. It is about anchoring yourself in the belief that you can handle them. Think of the people who seem calm in the face of chaos. They are not calm because they know the future. They are calm because they know themselves. They trust their ability to navigate, to adjust, to persevere. And this same power lives in you. It only needs to be awakened by a choice. The choice to replace doubt with faith and fear with courage. Peace will never come from overthinking, because overthinking is an endless search for control. Peace comes when you stop fighting the unknown and lean into it with trust. When you choose trust, you silence the noise in your mind. You make room for clarity, for confidence, for a quiet strength that does not need to analyze every step. So, the next time your mind begins to spiral, pause and remind yourself, I do not need to know everything. I only need to trust that I am enough, and that life will meet me where I am. With this trust, you step out of your head and into your life, not with fear, but with freedom. There comes a point when overthinking begins to feel like quicksand. The more you struggle in your thoughts, the deeper you sink. You play out endless scenarios, hoping that thinking harder will bring clarity. But instead, your mind grows heavier and your heart grows restless. The truth is, clarity rarely comes from sitting still in doubt. It comes from moving forward, despite the uncertainty. Action has a way of cutting through confusion that thought alone cannot. Think of it like walking into a dark room. You can stand outside the doorway and analyze it for hours, trying to imagine what's inside. Or you can step in, turn on the light, and see it clearly for yourself. Life works the same way. No amount of guessing and predicting can match the clarity gained by taking that first step. Even if the outcome is not perfect, it gives you real feedback, real experience, and real lessons that push you closer to the truth. Many people fear making the wrong decision, so they endlessly rehearse every possibility in their minds. But in doing so, they forget that indecision itself is also a decision, one that costs time, energy, and opportunity. When you hesitate for too long, doors close, momentum fades, and the world moves on. You may think you are being safe, But in reality, you are allowing fear to steal chances that might never return. Action is not about recklessness. It is about trust. Trust that you can handle whatever comes. Trust that even if you stumble, you will learn, adapt, and rise stronger. Every great achievement in history was built on countless imperfect actions, not on flawless plans. People who create, build, and lead are not those who waited until they had every answer. They are those who acted with the courage to learn along the way. Imagine standing at the edge of a pool, worrying whether the water is too cold. You can dip your toe, analyze the ripples, and debate endlessly. But the only way to truly know is to dive in. Once you are in the water, your body adjusts, your muscles move, and your fear fades into experience. Overthinking is the hesitation at the edge, while living is the dive. If you want to break free from overthinking, start practicing small, decisive actions. When a choice presents itself, instead of replaying it 100 times in your head, set a limit. Give yourself a deadline. Remind yourself that no decision is ever final. Life is fluid, and you always have the power to adjust. The first step may not be perfect, but it is always better than standing still. Notice how children learn to walk. They don't spend weeks analyzing the physics of balance or the mechanics of each step. They simply try. They wobble, they fall, and they rise again until their steps become steady. If they overthought every fall, they would never learn to walk at all. In the same way, every stumble in your life is not proof that you should stop. It is proof that you are learning to move. The more you act, the quieter your overthinking becomes. Action builds confidence, and confidence silences doubt. With each step, your mind learns that it does not need to run endless simulations of what might happen, because it can trust your courage to handle what does happen. The habit of action replaces the habit of hesitation. So remind yourself daily: clarity is born in motion. Peace comes not from endless control, but from embracing the flow of life. And freedom is found not in perfect plans, but in the boldness to step forward, even when the path is not fully lit. The moment you choose action over overthinking, you begin to live. There comes a moment in life when you realize that the things you cannot control will never stop existing. Circumstances, people, and outcomes will always have their own way of unfolding, no matter how much effort you put into trying to predict or prevent them. The more you cling to control, the tighter the grip of anxiety becomes. But when you learn to release that grip, you open yourself to peace, clarity, and freedom. Overthinking is often nothing more than our desperate attempt to control the uncontrollable. We replay conversations because we want to rewrite them. We worry about tomorrow because we want to guarantee safety. We analyze every detail because we think that certainty will protect us from pain. Yet in chasing certainty, we end up creating more stress than the situations themselves ever could. Think of a river. It flows freely, bending around rocks, rushing over obstacles, finding its path toward the ocean. Now imagine trying to stop the river with your bare hands. The harder you resist, the more exhausted you become. But if you step back, if you allow the water to flow, you will see that it moves naturally, whether or not you interfere. Life is much the same. When you stop fighting for control over every turn, you discover a natural rhythm, one that carries you forward without drowning you in worry. Letting go does not mean giving up. It does not mean you stop caring about your future or abandon responsibility. Instead, it means you trust yourself enough to handle life as it unfolds. It means you recognize the boundary between what is yours to influence and what is not. The rain may fall on your plans, but you still decide whether you dance in it or hide from it. The outcome of every choice may not be in your hands, but the courage to take the step always is. Consider for a moment the time you spent agonizing over something that eventually resolved itself. A result you couldn't have changed, even if you had thought about it all night. That is the illusion of overthinking. It tricks you into believing that worry is work. But worry is not work. Worry is weight. It sits on your chest, draining your energy, while the real work of progress is left undone. The most powerful way to live is to replace control with trust. Trust in your effort. Trust in your preparation. Trust that even if the outcome is different from what you imagined, you will learn, adapt, and keep moving forward. Think of the people who inspire you most. They are not the ones who had a perfect plan or who knew every answer ahead of time. They are the ones who walked into uncertainty with courage. They acted even when they couldn't see the entire path, and they trusted that clarity would appear as they moved. When you begin to let go of control, life becomes lighter. You start noticing the present moment, instead of being consumed by what might happen next. You enjoy conversations without scripting every response. You take opportunities without drowning in hesitation. You experience peace because you finally understand that not everything is yours to hold. Some things must be released, so your hands remain free for the things that truly matter. This practice takes time. At first, your mind will resist, running back to old patterns of prediction and worry. But each time you remind yourself, "This is beyond me, and I choose peace," you weaken the power of overthinking. Each time you allow yourself to trust, you build a new kind of strength, one rooted not in control, but in faith, resilience, and courage. In the end, letting go is not about losing power. It is about discovering where your real power lies. It is about no longer exhausting yourself with battles you cannot win, and instead pouring your energy into the choices, actions, and attitudes that shape your life today. And when you begin to live this way, you will find that the weight you carried for so long finally begins to lift, leaving you with a calm mind, a steady heart, and a spirit ready to live fully. We often believe that our thoughts are truths, that every idea our mind produces must be examined, wrestled with, and solved. But the reality is that most of what passes through our head is just noise. Echoes of fears, fragments of old experiences, assumptions about what might happen, and voices borrowed from others. When we treat every thought as urgent, we invite chaos into our inner world. The art of living fully lies in learning not to react to every passing idea, but to filter what deserves attention and release what does not. Think of your mind as a vast sky. Thoughts are like clouds drifting across it. Some are light and harmless, some heavy and stormy, but all are temporary. If you chase every cloud, you exhaust yourself. If you fear every shadow, you imprison yourself. But if you allow them to pass, you begin to see the sky's true nature, wide, clear, and open. This is how life should feel when you stop clinging to unnecessary thoughts. Overthinking magnifies problems that don't exist. A small comment from someone becomes a personal attack. A delay in response becomes a rejection. A minor mistake grows into a prediction of failure. The mind's tendency to dramatize is powerful, and unless you notice it, it will pull you deeper into worry. The key is awareness. When you step back and observe, you realize that not every thought requires a story. You don't have to build a mountain from a passing pebble. One way to free yourself from this cycle is to ask a simple question. Is this thought useful right now? If the answer is no, release it. If the thought only fuels anxiety, replaying it again and again won't bring clarity. Instead, redirect your energy towards something constructive, an action, a choice, or even a deep breath that grounds you in the present. By choosing usefulness over rumination, you weaken the grip of overthinking. There is great strength in silence. In moments when your mind races, pause. Sit with stillness. Notice how quickly thoughts come and go when you don't feed them with energy. At first, it may feel uncomfortable, even unnatural, but slowly, you'll discover that silence is not emptiness. It is power. In silence, you learn that you are not your thoughts. You are the one who observes them. This shift changes everything, because the moment you stop identifying with every idea, you reclaim control. It helps to remember that no one else is scrutinizing you as much as you are. The harshest critic often lives inside your own head. But this critic is not reality. It is a habit formed by doubt and fear. When you soften its voice, you create space for confidence to grow. Instead of asking, "What if I fail?" ask, "What if I succeed?" Instead of replaying the worst case scenario, visualize the best, directing your imagination toward possibility. Rather than fear, plant seeds of courage where hesitation once lived. Each day offers you a choice: to be consumed by thought or to be present in life. Presence doesn't mean ignoring the mind, but guiding it. It means giving attention to what matters now. The task in front of you, the person beside you, the breath within you. Presence transforms overthinking into clarity, and clarity into action. When you master this practice, life begins to feel lighter. You no longer waste energy on shadows. You stop carrying battles that were never yours to fight. Instead, you move with focus, simplicity, and freedom. And in this way, you discover a profound truth. Happiness does not come from controlling every thought, but from choosing which thoughts deserve to stay. There comes a point when you realize that the endless cycle of thought will never provide the certainty you are chasing. You can analyze every angle, every outcome, every detail in your mind, and still life will surprise you. The truth is, clarity comes not from sitting still, but from stepping forward. It is in the act of living, in the decisions you make, that your mind begins to settle. When you move, when you commit, when you take a step forward, the fog begins to lift and direction reveals itself. Think about the moments in your life when you felt most proud, most alive. Were those moments born from endless thinking, or were they born from action? You likely remember times when you acted, even with doubt in your heart, and discovered that the world did not collapse. In fact, more often than not, the step you took opened a new door, led you to meet new people, or gave you lessons that shaped who you are today. This is the great irony. We fear the wrong choice so deeply that we forget that even a wrong step can take us somewhere valuable. Overthinking convinces you that you must be perfect before you begin. It whispers that you need more preparation, more assurance, more time. But life is not waiting for you to be perfect. It is moving on, moment by moment, whether you act or not. Each day spent in hesitation is a day you will never get back. Each opportunity you delay passes quietly into the distance. And while your mind debates, life unfolds without you. There is a freedom in realizing that you don't need every answer right now. You don't need to solve the whole puzzle before placing the first piece. You simply need to take the piece in your hand and set it down. Step by step, decision by decision, the picture begins to appear. Action has a way of simplifying what thinking makes complicated. A single step forward silences 100 swirling thoughts. Consider the simple example of learning to swim. You can read books about technique, watch videos about form, and replay fears in your mind about sinking. But the only way to truly learn is to step into the water. The first attempt may not be graceful, but it begins the process of growth. In the same way, no amount of mental rehearsal can replace the lessons that action provides. The world becomes clearer once you engage with it. Yes, mistakes will happen. Missteps are part of the path. But mistakes are not the end of the road. They are guideposts pointing you in the right direction. Every time you stumble, you gain wisdom. Every time you choose and move forward, you discover a little more about yourself and the world around you. Overthinking tries to shield you from mistakes, but in doing so, it also shields you from growth. You do not need to leap across the entire mountain in one motion. You only need to take the next step that is in front of you. The courage to act is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move even when fear is present. And once you take that step, fear begins to shrink. Confidence is not something you wait to feel before acting. It is something you create by acting again and again. The more you live, the less you fear. The more you do, the less you doubt. Action creates momentum, and momentum becomes confidence. Confidence becomes peace, and peace allows you to truly live, free from the prison of endless thought. So, when your mind begins to circle endlessly, when doubt and hesitation weigh heavy on you, remember this: the cure for overthinking is action. Even the smallest step can break the cycle. Choose movement over paralysis. Choose progress over perfection. Choose living over thinking. That is where freedom begins. You have now walked a long path in this journey, learning to loosen the grip of your thoughts and embrace the flow of life. And as we come to this final stage, I want you to imagine what it truly means to live without the heavy chains of overthinking. Picture yourself waking up in the morning, no longer burdened by the endless loop of what-ifs and maybes. Instead, you rise with clarity. You understand that while you cannot control everything, you are fully capable of choosing how you respond, how you act, and how you show up for the day ahead. That awareness is not just powerful, it is liberating. Living free of overthinking does not mean you will never have doubts or worries. They are part of being human, but it does mean you no longer let those doubts command your actions or dictate your peace. You will still hear the whispers of fear, the tug of hesitation, the temptation to replay mistakes. But now you recognize them for what they are: passing clouds in the vast sky of your mind. They do not have to block your light. You can notice them, acknowledge them, and still choose to move forward with courage. The truth is, overthinking steals more from us than any external challenge ever could. It takes away opportunities before they even arrive. It convinces us to hold back words of kindness, to delay dreams, to avoid risks that could have brought growth and joy. To live free of it is to reclaim your birthright, to experience life fully, to laugh without hesitation, to love without calculation, to create without the need for perfection. It means trusting yourself enough to know that even if things don't unfold exactly as planned, you are strong enough to handle whatever comes. Think about all the time and energy you've lost to the cycle of endless thoughts. Hours spent doubting a decision that could have been made in minutes. Days consumed by replaying conversations that the other person likely forgot. Weeks wasted waiting for the right moment that never truly arrives. Imagine what happens when you reclaim all of that energy and pour it back into living. Suddenly, life becomes lighter, brighter, more expansive. You begin to see that the present moment is not a stepping stone to somewhere else. It is the very place where your happiness resides. This freedom comes from practice. Each time you catch yourself spiraling into overthinking and redirect your focus to the now, you strengthen your ability to live consciously. Each time you choose action over hesitation, you prove to yourself that you can move forward, even with uncertainty. Each time you release the need for control, you gain peace in return. Slowly, step by step, this becomes who you are. And so, as you stand at the close of this journey, I invite you to carry forward a simple truth: life is too short to be lived only in your mind. Your thoughts are tools, not masters. Your mind is meant to serve you, not enslave you. Do not waste the gift of life, trapped in endless loops of what could go wrong. Instead, walk forward boldly into what could go right. Let your actions speak louder than your doubts. Let your courage outshine your fear. Let your presence outweigh your worries. The world does not need another person hiding behind hesitation. It needs you, fully alive, fully present, fully engaged. This is your time to stop overthinking and start living. Not tomorrow, not someday, but today. Begin now and never look back. As we reach the end of this journey, take a moment to reflect on how far you've come. You began with a restless mind, constantly pulled into cycles of doubt, hesitation, and analysis. But along the way, you've discovered tools to quiet that noise, to untangle yourself from endless loops, and to redirect your focus toward what truly matters: living fully, deeply, and with purpose. Overthinking has always promised you safety, convincing you if you could just prepare enough, plan enough, or replay things enough, you could somehow protect yourself from failure, disappointment, or regret. But you now see that it was never protection at all. It was a cage. It held you back from experiences you longed for. It stole your time, your peace, and your confidence, and it disguised fear as wisdom. Freedom came the moment you realized you didn't need to silence your thoughts completely, but instead learn how to rise above them. You discovered that doubts and worries will always exist, but they do not have to define your choices. You now carry within you the awareness that your thoughts are not commands. They are suggestions, and you always hold the power to choose which ones to follow. Living beyond overthinking is not about perfection. It is about presence. It is not about never feeling fear. It is about acting even when fear is whispering in the background. It is not about controlling every outcome, but about releasing control and trusting yourself to handle what comes. And it is not about waiting for the right moment, because you have finally understood that the right moment is always now. Look back at your life for a moment. Think about all the times you hesitated, doubted, or delayed. The opportunities you might have lost. The relationships you might have weakened. The dreams you might have left unexplored. But now, shift your gaze forward. Imagine the life you can create when overthinking no longer holds the steering wheel. A life where you speak when something needs to be said. A life where you take action when your heart tells you to. A life where you no longer waste precious time in hesitation, but instead embrace each day as the gift it truly is. You are capable of so much more than you've allowed yourself to believe. You are stronger than your doubts, wiser than your fears, and braver than your hesitation. The world is waiting for you to step into it with clarity, courage, and confidence. Do not let the noise in your mind drown out the music of your life. Choose instead to move, to act, to live. As you close this book, remember your mind is a powerful tool, but it is only one part of you. Let it serve your purpose, not stand in the way of it. Trust the wisdom of your heart, the strength of your actions, and the resilience of your spirit. Stop asking, "What if?" and start asking, "Why not?" Stop replaying yesterday and start building today. Stop fearing the future and start shaping it with the steps you take now. This is your moment. Not tomorrow, not someday, not when everything feels safe. This moment, right here, right now. Let go of the weight of overthinking. Step forward with presence. Step forward with courage. Step forward with life. The world is waiting, and it is time, finally, for you to start living